Welcome to the Nordic Wolf Podcast. I am your host, Eric Darris. Today on the show, we discuss the preseason game number 1 for the Minnesota Vikings. We go over a little bit of the quarterback battle and where it's at, where it stands. Obviously, Kyler Murray has been named the starter. We dive into what drove that decision and what's next for Kyler, JJ, and Carson Wentz. And then segment 3, just kind of going over some minor details regarding the game, and then just kind of what my podcast schedule. I've been trying to iron this out here. I took a month off here just to kind of refresh as the season's about to start. It's going to get a lot busier. So let's just dive into all that here. All right, let's dive right into this preseason game number 1. Let's just start. So score was Minnesota Vikings 13, New York Giants 10. Score doesn't matter. It's a preseason game. Unfortunately, the one thing I always look at with a preseason game to determine if you're victorious is, do you escape the game without any injuries? And it does not appear, or it's not the case, as Jamal Adams out for the year with a leg injury. I was so excited after the first drive where Jamal Adams blew up Tyrone Tracy on a run, just ran right through it. Started actually to get my brain working on how a guy with Jamal Adams' blitzing pedigree could potentially work in the Brian Flores system. And I started to get excited thinking about what he could add to this defense. And then the next drive, non-contact injury, done for the year. So that's obviously not great for the Vikings. Second year in a row, we've lost a guy early. Last year, Rondale Moore, and we all know that situation is just heartbreaking in general with what transpired after. But with Jamal Adams, you have, a guy that's trying to revitalize his career, and now he's just gone. And that sucks because, again, I actually think he could have played a decent role in Brian Flores' defense. I think he's a perfect fit coming from a hybrid linebacker safety to blitz the quarterback. It's been what he's been most efficient at. He's not the best in coverage, never has been, but he can blitz the quarterback. And, that MetLife turf, I talked about it in my article yesterday. And, since then, obviously I've watched the film, and yeah, just sucks. I wish we could have gotten through. I keep going back to that 3rd and 22 that we allowed them to give up. And if you are able to get off the field, Jamal Adams probably, butterfly effect, but Jamal Adams doesn't get hurt 2 plays later on that touchdown pass. So that is to me, the number one story to come out of that preseason game is you didn't get out of it without a injury. And that sucks. But, you move on, you figure it out. Obviously, you want to continue to get through the preseason without any significant major injuries. We see it time and time again. Chicago has Luther Burden. They also lost Kobe Bryant, who came in as a free agent safety, and he's going to be done I think he'll be done for the year. They say he might be able to come back for a playoff run. At what point? If you come for a playoff run, look at Jalen Johnson last year, who missed half the year. He was ineffective all year, and the Bears defense suffered through it. So, you just got to get through these next 2 games, these joint practices. Let's not get any major injuries. Let's not take any unnecessary risks. But that was the main takeaway for me in that game, is it sucks that we lost Jamal Adams. Now, on to player production. So, gonna more go into JJ McCarthy in the next segment. So, and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, I guess not a ton of action in this game. He played 1 drive, 2 for 3. The running game was super effective while he was in there, so he didn't really get a chance to see us much. I thought he ran a decent operation, but it wasn't. There was a one nice throw to Jordan Addison on a 3rd and 8. Put it right on before Jordan made his break. He had it in the air. To me, it was a great read. I know some people didn't like the throw on film. I liked it. So that really was the only takeaway from Kyler Murray. As I said, J.J. McCarthy, I want to go into more detail. It wasn't great. There were some good things, some bad things, but we'll go into that in the next segment. For the wide receivers, obviously Jordan Addison played the one drive. Juwan Jennings, same thing. Didn't see anything from Juwan Jennings really, but we did see a lot of Ty Felton. We saw a lot of Miles Price. And going into the game, I was really excited to watch Ty Felton. I had heard some really nice things coming out of training camp. I'd only been down there one day, hadn't really seen much from Ty Felton. So this was my first chance to really see it. And on my initial watch and my film watch, kind of got the same impression that I think Miles Price is going to push him for time. I thought Miles Price did a better job of creating separation. I thought Ty Felton should have caught the one pass where it would have been on a 3rd and 20 or 2nd and 20, and J.J. McCarthy hit him in stride. Well, not in stride. It wasn't the perfect pass, and we'll go through that with J.J. later. But I thought Ty Felton made some okay plays, but I just thought Miles Price really did a good job of putting himself on the field as a wide receiver. We saw last year what Miles Price can do as a returner. He is an excellent returner, and I think he could probably push some playing time. Injuries happen. Both these guys will probably have their chance to, potentially fill in that wide receiver 4 role. I think the top 3 are pretty well established with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Juwan Jennings. But, in this day and age, it's a passing league. You need wide receivers. So the better both of them are, the better it is for the Vikings. The other guy I was really interested in and I talked about was Damon Claiborne. In general, I thought our running game was excellent. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Damon Claiborne all had nice runs, in my opinion. I thought our run blocking scheme just looked improved, which we heard with the new system coming in, kind of under Mike McDaniel. The coach's name is escaping me right now, not super important. But I was really excited to watch Damon Claiborne. I had heard good things again coming out of training camp. Pretty much everyone that we talked about have heard good things coming out of training camp. I really like Damon Claiborne's burst, though. I didn't realize he was a 4-3 guy. And you give him a big enough hole and he can get through that 1st and 2nd line of defense, he's going to be a threat to take it. He's got some power. He's got some wiggle. I just really enjoyed watching Damon Claiborne. And I think he's going to be really good. I don't know early on how much playing time he's going to get. I thought Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason both had some really nice runs. And I just think with this offensive run scheme, we're just going to see a little bit more from the run game, which hopefully in turn helps get everybody going, because it's been the one Achilles with Kevin O'Connell's offense. I feel like is sometimes our running game has been a little bit too vanilla. It just hasn't had a whole lot, and then it has led to very bad goal line stands where we just can't run the ball, so we're forced to throw it. I mean, you look back at the Sam Darnold year against Detroit, how many times we were 1st and goal and we could not finish. I didn't think that got solved last year, so I'm hoping with these new running schemes we start to see things start to pick up, and so that's Damon Claiborne. Onto the defensive side, so I just was really interested in the 4 rookies who had been kind of shining. So, Caleb Banks and Dominique Orange were the first guys that I really was excited to watch. And they didn't get any time with the first for those 2. They were out after that first drive. And overall, for the most part, I saw them both get pushed around a lot on film. I know they were talking about that on the broadcast, and it really showed up. There was a couple of plays where they each got through with some swim moves, but overall they got overpowered, which shouldn't be that surprising. They are rookie players. Dominique Orange is a 3rd-round pick, nose tackle. He's a strong guy, but he has never had to deal with these NFL linemen who are just all so strong, so powerful, have them understand these moves. You can't just run through them with power. You got to come up with some moves. And I thought both Caleb Banks and Dominic Orange just didn't. Caleb Banks, obviously, he hasn't played a lot of competitive football in the last couple of years due to injury. So, I mean, it's just nice to get him out. I'm not sounding the panic alarm or anything like that with another first round pick. All reports have been they have been playing pretty well in practice. It's just a lot, obviously, in game one. You're playing against big, strong guys, even backups. I mean, these are all the top guys in college. So I wouldn't break too much into it. Jake Galladay, to me, blew up on the film. He was all over the place in terms of just getting to the spots. You know, he didn't have any plays where it's like, whoa, he made this play happen, but I just thought he's getting to the right spot. He looks fast. I think he's going to be, to me, he might be the most impactful of any of these three guys this season. That's just kind of my prediction at this point, is he's going to get the most playing time, especially, I mean, I saw Ivan Pace. I don't know what happened to Ivan Pace. He's just too small. He gets overpowered. And with Jamal Adams now going down, I just think Jake Galladay's role is just going to continue to go up. So, yeah, that's my prediction of all our rookies. Jake Galladay is going to be the most effective in year one. Charles Dennings, I didn't see a whole lot on the film that they didn't throw it a lot. So and again, I'm new to film, first year watching it. So it's going to be some learning experiences, especially watching different positions. It's slow. It's, time for me to process, just like NFL players have to process what's going on. So I didn't see a lot of Charles Dennings' film. So again, I'm working with people trying to get that figured out, but not a lot from Charles Dennings at this point. We'll be interested to see kind of how the game against the Ravens goes on Saturday. All right. Just going to take a quick break here. And after this, we're going to talk here on Carson Wentz, J.J. McCarthy, Kyler Murray, quarterback situation, and what it looks like for the Vikings here. Next on the Nordic Wolf Podcast. All right. Welcome back. Nordic Wolf Podcast. So we are on to the quarterback situation and what we saw. So Kyler Murray obviously named the starter early last week. J.J. McCarthy named the backup, and he played with the twos, and then Carson Wentz was in with the threes. So let's just start. Kyler Murray being named the starter. So I wanted to first give my opinion on him being named the starter, because I saw a lot of discourse this week on Twitter regarding that decision, and a lot of people said, hey, I didn't feel like J.J. McCarthy got a fair shake. It felt like the coaches just handed it over to Kyler Murray, because he was named the starter after on Tuesday morning after the last practice was the night practice on Sunday, which I was at. Kyler had a rough practice. JJ made a couple of nice throws. There was still some inconsistency. I mean, he had one really a long bomb catch to Justin Jefferson. If he hits him in stride, it's a touchdown, but Jefferson has to stop, and he's stopped. So, you get a 25-yard game versus a touchdown. That's the type of stuff that, again, JJ's had issues with really his whole career. But the night practice, JJ did outplay Kyler from what I saw. And overall in practice, I mean, I think it's fair to say that neither quarterback has blown anyone away. So there was some surprise, especially from the heavy JJ fans who wanted JJ to be the starter. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this, because again, as someone that I would rather have JJ won this competition, full scope. I think for the organization, you're in a better position if your rookie quarterback that you drafted a few years ago is your starting quarterback. He works out. He ends up being a great prospect. However, I don't believe that this competition was a farce. I do believe there was competition, But if you think that J.J. McCarthy was on a level playing field with Kyler Murray and deserved to be on a level playing field, I just don't understand how you could watch last year. And so let's just break this down. So, yes, McCarthy was 6-4 as a starter last year. But, it started, he started 2-6 as a starter. We saw a guy that looked overwhelmed. He just made playing football look hard. And he didn't look like a franchise quarterback. Anybody who's objectively watching football, and that's why people that maybe aren't Vikings fans watched it, and he was the meme. He was the joke of the league. So you needed to bring in competition. And that competition, I thought Kyler Murray was the best quarterback on the market that they could have gotten. They got him for a minimum deal. You cannot pass that up. You're getting one of the best value contracts in all of football when you're paying him the veteran minimum. And JJ, was told you're going to compete, and I believe there was competition. But to me, the parameters of that competition is it's not going to go on very long, JJ, if you come into camp and we are still seeing the same inconsistencies. And this is where I say that night practice, that throw to Justin Jefferson. Yeah, he completed it 25 yards down the field. And guess what? You're going to complete a lot of passes to Justin Jefferson because his catch radius is incredible. But you cannot tell me that that's a great pass. You got to hit him in stride. He had him beat by 10 yards. That's a touchdown if you throw that in stride. And this has been the problem with J.J. McCarthy his whole time as a Viking. He struggles with consistency. He struggles to hit guys in stride. He overthrows. So, to me, JJ needed to improve significantly and show that he could be a consistent passer, make all the throws. We know he can throw a fastball. Can he layer a ball in there? Can he put soft touch on the ball? A lot of guys can throw the ball hard. A lot of guys have talent. And that is what's frustrating when you watch JJ McCarthy, because you see it on some balls that he throws where you're just like, wow, he fit that into a tight window. You see that talent that I didn't see with a Christian Ponder back in the day, or even a Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy could not throw the ball in these tight windows. JJ can. The problem is JJ can't consistently complete passes. He cannot consistently extend drives. So it just becomes a problem that it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't see enough growth. So yeah, we're going to see what Kyler can do and continue to work with JJ. And it's not over for him. I think it's probably over with him as a Viking in terms of just the odds are he's going to want to move on to a different organization. So that's kind of where I was at with that QB competition. I always thought Kyler was going to win, not because I thought it was an unfair competition, but just I know the realistic expectations of what this organization was looking for in a quarterback, and I just didn't see where JJ was going to see that improvement. I was really hopeful that he would, because for JJ to win the competition, it would have meant he got a lot better. And, here we are, even on Saturday. So his performance was up and down. He had a really nice pass where he extended the play with his legs, hit Miles Price coming back in, perfect pass, extends the play. There was a penalty on it, so it would have been a first down. But again, awesome. But then there was, his first pass of the game, sails 2 yards over the head, 3-0. His first drive, mistimed snap. There was penalties where there was, struggling to process at the line of scrimmage, get the play off quickly. So it leads to an illegal shift. This is all stuff that was happening last year with JJ. And it just makes our offense so clunky and so problematic. The throw to Ty Felton. Ty Felton should have caught that pass, yes. But again, not in stride. Had to stop for it. Probably should have been pass interference in there a couple of plays too. But again, you see the throws that he makes that are nice and they're super impressive. And then you see the throws like the one that sailed 3 yards over the head of the wide receiver. And it's just like, it's maddening. You're going to lose a lot of games if he is playing like that. I do think at this point, JJ McCarthy is playing with, I don't think he's guaranteed to be the backup even at this point with how rocky that was. He needs to show a lot. On first watch, I thought Carson Wentz was better than what the film showed, but we know kind of what Carson Wentz is. He's pretty limited, mostly a 1-read, maybe a 2-read quarterback. But he did have that nice touchdown pass to Miles Price. The offense seemed to operate better, though, with Carson Wentz. And that's where, again, I think your ceiling is really low with Carson Wentz, but as a backup, I need someone who's consistent, and JJ just cannot do that. So I don't know. If JJ's the third string quarterback, I think you trade him. I think trading him's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't know what his value is at this point. I mean, I think if you can get a 5th or better, you're going to flip him. But I don't think you even get that. So at this point, with what his contract is, I don't want to trade him for a 6th or 7th round pick. Those are basically worthless picks. You just don't get much out of them. So not really interested in a 6th or 7th round pick for JJ McCarthy. So, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, though, that the Vikings do look elsewhere for a backup quarterback, because right now I just don't see Carson Wentz or JJ McCarthy instilling a lot of confidence if going into a game on Sunday, if they're having to start. Especially, I mean, you get multiple games, get some decent teams. We saw that Carson Wentz experience last year. I mean, even before he broke down, he was okay against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year. So, and they didn't have their quarterback either. So yeah, you won that game. Your defense absolutely destroyed Jake Browning. I don't think you win a ton of games with Carson Wentz. I don't think you win a ton of games with JJ McCarthy, though. You do have a higher ceiling with JJ McCarthy, but your floor is low. And that's kind of where I'm at with the backup quarterback situation. We will, when we get back here, I just want to kind of finalize some thoughts on that game and then kind of just go into what I've got coming up here as we are entering the busy season. I've talked about a little bit and things have changed just slightly. I just want to give some more clarity to that, and we'll talk about it here in just 1 second. All right, welcome back. Final segment here of today's show. Just wanted to talk about again a little bit on what this game was from the Giants' perspective. One thing I really noticed, I don't think the Giants have any trust in Jaxson Dart. I saw a very similar thing last year when we played the Giants when they just didn't let him throw the ball. As soon as Jameis came in, it seemed like they opened up their playbook with the throw. I know Jaxson Dart did complete the touchdown pass, mostly a scramble drill. I just don't see it. I am shorting Jaxson Dart. I didn't like him I thought he was overdrafted last year. I think he's kind of an idiot. I think he takes a lot of unnecessary hits. I don't understand. People are criticizing Tyrone Tracy on that Jay Ward sack for the block. That is more on Jaxson Dart, in my opinion, than Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy is not going to be able to stop that block with how quick he went in the position that he was put in. Jaxson Dart has to recognize that blitz, and he has to put Tyrone Tracy in a spot to pick that blitz up. He didn't. So to me, that sack also Jaxson Dart. Tyrone Tracy is taking a lot of the blame for that, but for a second-year quarterback, I expect that they can absolutely read that blitz and not get that hit. That hit is 100% on Jaxson Dart. He does not slide. He takes unnecessary hits. He's questioning what the concussion protocol is like. Dude, you looked like you got knocked the heck out. So I just don't get where And I just think John Harbaugh is going to say, this guy is just not the answer. We are going to move on at the end of the year. I could see Jameis Winston I think Jameis Winston will see time there because, again, I don't believe Jaxson Dart can stay healthy. I don't think he can protect himself. I know a lot of people are really high on him. I listen to some podcasts where they're talking him up. I just don't see it. I never have. And I just thought that was interesting. Again, it just looks like it's very similar where they didn't let him pass the ball. They didn't let him, spread the ball out. And I get it's preseason, so that's where I could be wrong, but I don't think they trust him. He doesn't seem like a John Harbaugh fit. But I just thought that in terms of our defense in general, that first team defense is going to be so damn good. They kicked ass on in the limited time we saw. I talked about the Jamal Adams blowing up, the Jay Ward we just talked about. The blitzing schemes just are right on par. And I just think Brian Flores is going to have a really fun year, just dominating. He's finally got some players that make sense. I think Dallas Turner's primed to be a elite pass rusher. I expect him to have 12 plus sacks this year. He had a great kind of season last year. I do expect him to really fill that Jonathan Grenard role. I thought he did really well last year when Jonathan Grenard, which he was out a lot. And I think we've seen that when he fills in for Grenard, he did better than when he filled in for Van Ginkel, who plays more of that kind of hybrid linebacker pass rusher role that I feel like Jake Galladay is going to kind of transition into here as the year goes on. And I think this could be Van Ginkel's last year, which is salary cap wise. That seems to make sense. But that's kind of where that is. So this week then, looking ahead, we got Baltimore coming in for the joint practices. Obviously, great time for a lot of the starters to get some work in. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see any of our starters really play in this preseason game coming up. I think it is important for the Vikings. I want to see JJ McCarthy play at least a half of football. I didn't think he played enough. I thought the coaches kind of didn't do him enough justice, letting him get enough time in. I would like to see JJ McCarthy at least play into the third quarter. I hope that's the case. I just want to see him build some more confidence. Because to me right now, he just looks like his confidence is shot. He just needs to get some good drives together, play some better football. Because again, I do believe his ceiling does give us a better backup role, but we just saw what his floor is. I also really want to see more out of Caleb Banks and Dominique Orange. I just want to see if they can, work with them, get them some moves that maybe just can work a little bit as they're playing. They're playing backups. I want to see them start to win some of these battles. I'm not expecting them to just, blow everything up, but I'd like to see more. I want to see if they can, pull some more swim moves. I saw a couple of them from them in the film where they each had a play or two where they, did beat their guy. I just want to see them do that with some consistency, get some pressure on the quarterback from Caleb Banks, and just Dominique Orange to plug up that middle so guys aren't able to get to that second level of the defense, and we can get some more second and longs, third and longs, things like that. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Obviously, in the joint practices, you're just looking to see where your starters lay out. It'll be interesting to see how Kyler Murray kind of compares to and looks against Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I know Lamar Jackson is, on that top level where I just don't see that with Kyler Murray. I think Kyler doesn't have the size, but he does have a lot of the same athletic traits. So it's an interesting practice. And I'm excited to kind of see what that is. So finally, I want to just kind of go over here as we're kind of getting back into the podcasting, what that's going to look like here going forward, and then what the writing. So for podcasting, I'm going to do a weekly NFL Vikings heavy show. So that's going to come out on, typically I'm going to look to do that one on Tuesday, where I'm going to mostly review the game that just happened. I will hopefully have watched film. The only thing that I will not, if it's a Monday night, obviously, game, I won't have time to jump into film before that. So the podcasting might flip from that week to a Tuesday on the Vikings to a Thursday. That would be, I think we only play one Monday night game against Buffalo, I believe, if I remember right on the schedule. So that'll be the only week where the Vikings show will be on Thursday. Wednesdays are going to be a sports betting podcast. I've actually opened up a whole new app that I will link once it has start having episodes. That's just going to be an in-season and then post-season where I go through, I'll kind of talk on most games, but really what it's going to be, the main focus of that is going to be, hey, let's look at my favorite 5-ish games on the afternoon slate, but then I'm also going to touch on Thursday night football. If there is a London game, that'll be so kind of the special standalone games, and then 5 games that I like. And I'm going to track how we're doing. So you can, if you want to tail my bets, I can track on where your return on investment would be if you're making these bets. They will be against the spread unless, you're getting into anything 1.5 or less. If you're in the plus number, I'd maybe look at taking the favorites just to win some extra money on there. But again, that is going to be the Wednesday podcast. And then this is going to probably be until end of September. I will be adding a third show where it'll be Timberwolves focused show. I want to continue to, as the NFL season is going and the NBA season kicks off in October, I want to kind of start as we get into training camp, going over some Wolves stuff and just having some around the NBA talk. Cause obviously just Wolves, as the season goes, it's a long season, but I did pick up my 15 games worth of tickets. So I'm really excited for that Wolves season to come out. But I do want to separate the podcast. The Wolves and the Vikings will all be on the same feed. The sports betting is going to be no Minnesota focus to it. It's just going to be NFL in general. And that is kind of just where that stands. So that's what things content-wise look like from the podcasting standpoint. Now, from the writing standpoint, it's going to be similar. So I'm going to have my follow-up come out on Saturday. So I will go through the sports bets that I like for the Wednesday show, and then I will finalize because, again, a lot happens with injuries. So what I say on the podcast will be finalized. I might, there will be a few games that get moved here or there, but that'll be in an article on the Nordic Wolf Substack. I will have my finalized games. I will post them. So if you want to follow that along, that'll come out on Saturday. And then, so those will be my finalized bets. And then I will be having a Viking, or probably 2-ish Vikings articles over the course of the week, a preview and a kind of a recap of what the game is going on, what news is coming out. And then, I look forward to each game will come out. That'll come out on probably Thursday to Friday, the preview, the post game thing. I plan to have out by the end of the day, each game, even the night games. I do plan to stay up, write them, get them out. They'll be quick, those ones. And then once the Timberwolves season starts, we will start adding that article in there, and there'll just be until football season's done. I know last year I was writing for every game, talking about every game. I just don't have the capacity during football season to be following up every basketball game. So I will do a weekly review on the basketball. Again, that should likely start coming out, and I would like to have that out for, I'll probably do those on Sunday along with the Vikings. So that one will be set to come out every Monday morning. So, if there's a Wolves game on Sunday, it'll be post game of that game on Sunday. Unless it's a late game, then it will obviously come out before that. But again, that's just going to be Wolves featured kind of weekly, what I saw from the week. And, going forward, that'll be through January. Once playoffs start, depending on what the Vikings look like in the playoffs, you could start seeing me start shifting more towards Wolves coverage on there. But for the foreseeable future in the regular season, it's going to be more of a Vikings focus with, weekly Wolves content still coming out. But that's not going to start till probably end of September once we start getting into training camp and we kind of start seeing how that roster shapes up. So that's where we're at right now. For the time being, until we hit the regular season, one podcast a week. And there will be a couple of articles coming out right now per week as I just kind of go into, writing a preview, quick. They're not going to be super detailed, obviously, preseason. So I'll have another article here, kind of talking about what I'm hearing from the joint practices. I cannot make it because, again, I have a full-time job outside of this. This is just my passion project. I can't be at nearly as many training camp practices as I would like. So I do have to go off of some reports that I'm hearing from the media, from the beat, and go off of that. So again, I thank you for being patient. I have been kind of trying to wrap my head around this last month, what my season's going to look like. There might be minor tweaks from what I just gave you because, again, it's my first season covering the Vikings and doing some work with it. If you enjoy any of my content, I please ask you share it with friends, share it with family if they are sports fans, Vikings fans, Wolves fans, sports betting fans. I know last year I hit a 58% on football bets. I like to think I'm pretty decent at it. I hope I'm not setting myself up for failure as I start podcasting and writing about it, but I feel pretty confident about it in general. So, please like and subscribe wherever you find your podcast. Please subscribe to the Nordic Wolf Substack. Again, I'm still on the ground level trying to figure out how to, expand to as many people and, continue to grow. I thank you if you do read my articles or watch my podcast. Again, I love doing this, and it helps when I know people are at least enjoying it. So again, thank you for joining the podcast, and we'll be back next Monday to talk about the preseason game, the joint practices, things like that, any news that comes out. And have a great day.